here is the new brake assembly. So pretty. There's the two wires, and I guess I didn't say this, but inside that old brake assembly there's a part number, and it's right there. So that's how I figured out what I need. 23465-00. It matches. We're good to go. Let's install this bad boy. Hold the wires back. Again, play operation. Don't touch the spindle. And boom. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to WildWanderRV. Today, we were getting ready to leave. Well, about it in a day. So the slides are in. Sneak peek, that wall's done. Looks really good back there. Can't wait to show you that video. But I was getting ready to grease the bearings, took the tire off, and noticed something on the hub that made me a little concerned. Took the hub off and found out I needed new brakes. So we have drum brakes. Most RVs come with drum brakes. It's not time for us to upgrade yet. We're doing RV life on a budget, but I got new brake drum assemblies, all 4 of them. We're doing that today. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you how to re-grease your bearings, pack your bearings. We have easy grease fittings on our axles. I'll show you how to do that. Most importantly, how to look for in your brakes. So I show it to you as it happens. Let's do it. Let's go. Alright guys, so here are the tires in question. We have 2 on either side. We have double axles. So to give you a rundown of the tools you need. First important over here on the right is a torque wrench. You set the torque. Everything is torqued properly. Our tire is supposed to be torqued to 120 foot-pounds, so it's important to get one of these. Different types of extensions, a breaker bar, hammers useful, some screwdrivers, wire crimps, knife, wire strippers, heat shrink tubing, and some butt connectors, and a voltage tester, because I think I might have a voltage leak where my brakes are grabbing and touching where I don't want them to, or hopefully if I don't read any voltage when the truck's hooked up, maybe they just weren't set right from the factory. Hoping that, because we went about 12,000 miles, and that's where our brakes, yeah, they need to be replaced. So I already have it jacked up. I have a 12, I'll show you that under here. I've got a 12-ton bottle jack. Yes, I'm going to get into the comments. Oh, you're not under the U-bolts. You're supposed to be under the U-bolts or close to the U-bolts to help without bending the axle. But I do have my hydraulics engaged on the jack, all 6 on my RV. All hydraulics are engaged, helping the jacks along. I do not trust the hydraulics all by themselves, but they are there. But I have 2 jacks. This is my regular one from the truck on this side, and 2 jack stands. You know, when you're lifting anything up, please be careful and make sure you have safeties installed. So let me show you here on the other side what we ran into here. So this is I already did this side, and as you can see, we have some uneven wearing on that disc brake, on that brake pad, and on this brake pad it was actually cracking. So to me, that means we had too much heat in here. It's unevenly worn, it's thinner in here, thicker on the bottom, and then on these pads over here, I don't know, there you go, they're cracked all the way down and all the way through. So yeah guys, something to check for in RV life. You know, you don't want it happening while you're on the road driving. You want to catch it now. That's why it's important to change your, repack your bearing grease. Repack your bearings every 10,000, 12,000 miles. And that way you can catch stuff like this happening. So we're gonna get at it. I'm gonna show you step by step how to do it. Let's get it done. Oh, and gloves. Gloves. It's gonna be a very greasy, dirty job, guys. So let's do it. All right, guys. So I already got the tires up off the ground, spinning loosely. They're ready to come off. Before you jack up your tires, make sure you brake it. If you don't have a breaker bar, highly suggest getting a breaker bar. This is from Harbor Freight with some extensions. And then, unless you're using electric, but still, I would highly suggest a breaker bar. It's the cleanest way without possibly stripping your lug nuts. But mine are 3/4 inch, so we're just gonna take them off here. All right, so the thing about lug nuts is I have 6-sided lug nuts. In your socket wrench kit, if you have one, you have 6-sided or 12-sided. Try not to use 12-sided. Nowadays lug nuts have these caps on them, so they're soft. You can slip on the 12s and then you'll strip it and then have a pain. Ask me how I know. I've learned in the past. So make sure you're using a 6, whatever size lug nuts. Mine are 3/4. Deep well if you have it, even better. And then keep stuff in place. But yeah, you don't want to strip your lug nuts. You'll be, especially if this happened on the side of the road, you have a flat tire. All right, guys, so tires are off. I'm gonna show you what we're looking at here. That way you know what we're doing. You feel comfortable. This is easy. You do not have to get a RV tech. You can do this job. Take your time, stop, pause the video, look. I'm gonna show you pretty much everything you need to know. So let's look at what we're looking at right now. Welcome to an axle assembly. Here's your brake drum, okay? Those are your bolts where your tire goes. We just took it off. Now, people think this drum is held on. That drum is just loosely spinning on your bearings. I'll show you how to take that all off. Now you have your leaf springs onto your hangers. I have a Cree 3000 motorized suspension hanger that helps with the chucking. Sometimes you might not have this thing in the middle, but you would have just a basic one that doesn't look so fancy. But then you have, so like I said, your leaf springs. Behind your leaf springs, you have your U-bolts. Your U-bolts is what attaches your leaf springs to your axle, and then your axle is what holds your drum and your tire. I keep a spare leaf spring in my, and yes, I see this clip is down. I have to release the tension of the jack to get that back on. Now these U-bolts on top, the nuts, they are torqued too. On my RV, there's 70 pounds, so I will retorque those. It's important. But what I was saying is I carry an extra leaf spring in my toolbox. They have a habit of cracking either here on this hanger or on the other side. And if you're on the side of the road and you crack a leaf spring, you can change it. You would just take your U-bolt off. Well, first you would jack up to your axle, take your U-bolts off, take it off here, take it off over there. You know, it's not the easiest thing because you have to align everything, but it can be done and you wouldn't be stranded. So next thing on the drum and brake assembly, I'm gonna take this cap off. There's gonna be a locking washer. We're gonna take it all off. I'm gonna show you step by step. Let's do it. Let's get it done. I didn't mention gloves. If you have an RV and you have black tanks, gray tanks, you should have gloves. Anyway, gloves are your friend. There's a lot of grease. We want to keep the grease to a mess. And a good set of heavy duty towels. These blue ones are awesome for grease. So actually the hardest part of this is getting this cap off. It literally is just compressed in there. So you have to work around the edge. Do it slowly, try not to bend it. Get your sharpest flathead. Get it on an angle. And just trying to loosen it. And there's the cap. So we have easy grease spindles. There's a Zerk fitting right here. That's what this rubber cap is for. That's how they suggest re-greasing everything. That's not how you repack your bearings. So you still have to take this all out, which is what I did on the other side. And just took the drum off to look, checked one of the brakes, and realized that we had a brake issue. So keep everything together, and this is when you start cleaning. So this grease actually doesn't look terrible. I probably was actually going to just do one tire on the other side and probably have gone, I don't know, another 3,000 miles or so, and would have done the other tires. This grease is pretty clean. So now that we got that, if you can see, this golden is a locking nut or a locking washer. The nut's behind it. This might take you a little extra time too. Work on the tops and work yourself around, loosening it. This doesn't spin, so work it around. Little teeth on every side. There you go. Okay. So here is the locking washer. There's a tab in here that goes on the flat side. If you look at the spindle, there's a flat side right here. So when you put this back in, that tab goes right here on the flat side, and you snap it in. So the second thing, or now that was the second thing. So the third thing here is the locking washer here. Clean it up as we're going. So get yourself a pair of your channel locks. And these are literally just hand tight. This drum spins on all these bearings. So if you over tight this nut, you can keep it from spinning properly, which will wear out your bearings even more. So the proper way to install that is, we'll get through it when we put this thing back together. But so now, in order, over here we have the cap off, that locking nut, locking cap. Here's your nut. Now next thing should be in here is a washer. Right there. Try to be careful. You don't want to pry too hard. You don't want to scratch anything up or dent anything. Put it this way, guys. This spindle on the end is connected to your whole axle. The washer's off. That clean. Take all the grease off because we're going to put new grease on there. Now, as you can see, there's a flat side on that too. So that's easy. Only one way for it to go on. Front and back doesn't matter. Then is the bearing. Here is your bearing. I'll try to get it cleaned up before I show you guys. Alright, so here's your bearing. This is what your drum rides on. Spins on the out like this, and you have to repack grease inside this groove all the way around to the other side, and I'll show you how to do that. They do make a little tool for repacking grease. I don't have one, don't need anything else in my RV, so we're just gonna do it the good old-fashioned way. Now there is one more bearing in there. Probably gonna get a lot of slack for this, but I repack my bearing in the front so on the first 10,000 miles, and then every 20,000 miles I put on new seals and repack both bearings. That's the way I've always done it. It's the way I was taught. It's always worked for me. It's always worked for my family. You know, do your own research. If you want to repack the back one every 10,000 too, you can. I'll show you how, where to get to it. But I do it on the 20,000 mile, and I'll repack both. But you need a new seal. And I'll show you what that is, because we're about to take this drum off. So be careful with this drum. It is super duper heavy. All right. Give it a little wiggle. This is your rear drum, and the drum actually looks good. You run your fingers around here on the side. If you're feeling for any kind of grooves, any imperfections, you can get a drum turned out usually, or they'll resurface it for you. This feels pretty good. Over here, you're gonna feel 2 grooves because of the magnet. I'll show you how this drum brake works. And then here, this is what I was talking about. This is the seal, and in here, see it spinning a little bit? That is the back bearing. And if the grease was really, really bad, I would consider redoing it, but it's actually pretty clean still back here. So I am going to leave it as is and just try to get all this grease out, because you don't need this old grease. If you do it properly, get the old grease out. That's why I feel like you can do the back every 20,000. So you're gonna need some towels. Take your time. There's a lot of grease in there. Try to keep any grease from inside your drum. So that is the horror stories you'll hear, is this back seal giving out because you put too much grease, or like you didn't clean out enough grease and you're trying to put in new grease, and that seal gives out. If that seal gives out, you'll get grease in your drum. If you get grease in your drum, you get grease in your brakes. Greasy brakes don't work. So take your time on this. Get the old grease out, and try not to leave any inside your drum. So we're gonna flip this bad boy around. Give it a few taps with the hammer. Loosen up all of that gunk. Brake dust inside. Look at this, looks good. Spin on the wrist. Still coming out. We're getting there though. So guys, this is a greasy job. Try to do it. Some campgrounds won't even let you change your bearings or re-grease your bearings because of all the grease. So check with them first and try to, you know, be nice and either lay out a trash bag, or I have some of these moving blankets around that I keep in the back of my truck. Use paper, cardboard or something to keep everything nice and clean. Be respectful of your campgrounds. And I think, guys, that is going to do it. Grease on the spindle too. Work off all the grease off of there. Now you're looking for imperfections on this spindle too. Like, it should be nice and grooved. This is where the bearing rides. You're looking for any kind of nicks. So that looks pretty good to me. Welcome to to a drum brake. Now, drum brakes in like cars are usually have like a spring up here that's spread the brakes. In this RV, we have this giant magnet down here, which get magnetized when you hit the brakes. So when you hit the brakes, this magnet sticks to the drum, it gets pulled to the drum, and then as it gets pulled, it pulls forward like that. And as you can see, this spreads the pads, which cause you to stop. Now, these are self-adjusting. There's a little screw tab. This will be easier for me to show you once I get it off, where you can self-adjust these brakes. You don't have to manually adjust them. To take the brake assembly off, like I said, these actually look pretty well. This is how I would have expected my brakes to look. They have good life on them all the way around. There's no cracking, there's no chipping. They look in good shape. But since I already changed the other side, we're not gonna mess around here and change this side. That way they wear both the same. I'm gonna keep them as backup. So there's 5 nuts here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around. That's what takes this brake assembly off. There's 2 wires on the back going towards the axle that we're gonna clip and rewire for the new one. So just cut those, use your wire snips and a knife because there's a clip on the back of it. So back here are the wires right here. I'm just gonna snip right next close to the butt connector. 1 and 2. And perfect. Now you don't need to worry about polarity with a magnet, so the wire can be connected to either one. Wrench. These aren't going to be, they're going to be tight, but they're not like breaker bar tight. I think these were set to 40 pounds, if I remember from doing the other side. Be careful with the spindle. Try not to nick it. You want to be careful as you can. All those nuts are off. It's been sitting here for a little while. It might be a little caked on. Mine's not so much. So be careful again. Bring it off. Like old school operation. Don't try to touch. Now here's those view of those back wires. Okay, they were crimped together. I just snipped it. But yeah, this brake assembly is in actually pretty darn good condition with good life on. So I mean, there are very few signs of it, but we're gonna keep this one for sure. So now, this is what I was talking about, guys. If you see here, this is connected directly to your axle. So if anything here is damaged, you need a whole new axle. There's no just getting a new spindle. It's pretty much what we call game over. Now, so this easy grease fitting on this axle, here's the Zerk fitting, and right here, this little notch right there, that's where the grease comes out of and backfills into the area. You spin, I'll show you how to do that, spin while filling it up. So what I'm gonna do next now is, since I have access to now all of my fittings, I'm gonna clean all of these up. Everything on my leaf springs. Now that I got all those Zerk fittings clean, I'm going to take my grease gun, make sure you got grease coming out, and we do. So next step is snap it on right on the end and pump slowly until you see grease come out. 1, 2. That's it. It's nice. I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna put it on. Second one, that same thing. So, Zerk fittings are done. I had a couple that were giving me issues. I'll deal with that later. I'm gonna probably loosen the bolts and see if I can get in there. Next thing to do is strip me some wires and put these butt connectors on back here. So, if you've never dealt with wire strippers, they're easy to tell you the gauge on side of the wire. Crimp, turn a little bit, and pull. So we're gonna go right here on the wire. There we go. That was a clean pull. Give it a twist. There's one. So now that I know there's 2 different sheaths, I'm gonna go up to that gauge, around, pull the 1, go to the second, and that's 2. Give it a twist. Now, this is what a butt connector looks like. If I can get it to zoom in on there for you. That's a butt connector. Use a crimp tool to crimp them in. And then you need some heat shrink. Keep it waterproof. So I'm going to choose probably this size. Yeah. Yeah, that size looks good. So I'm going to put the shrink tubing on first. Now with butt connectors, you want to make sure the wire kind of goes to the halfway point of the butt connector so you have room for the other side of the wire. But you also want it to crimp onto the rubber. So get it to about, yeah, so this, I'm going to cut a little bit off this one. Okay, boom. Now for your crimping tool, it has gauges on it. I like to set mine in the gauge, right where I want it to be. Then insert the wire. There's a metal hole inside. You want to try to make sure you get into the metal hole. That's what makes the connection. You can look on the other side. Make sure you're about the halfway point. Like it. Put my finger on it right there. And crimp down. 2 hands. Boom. I like to move a little bit closer back to the wire. 2 hands. And that levy is locked in. Make sure the shrink tubing will go over. Yes, it will. And now let's do the other one. Cut the wire back. A little twist. Same thing. Put the where you want it. Metal hole and crimp down. Alright. Good tight. 2 tubings on there. Ready to go for the new plate. Here is the new brake assembly.
It's so pretty. There's the 2 wires. And I guess I didn't say this, but inside that old brake assembly, there's a part number. And it's right there. So that's how I figured out what I need. 23465-00. It matches. We're good to go. Let's install this bad boy. Hold the wires back. Again, play operation. Don't touch the spindle. And boom. That's it. We're on like... Oh, forgot to say. There are lefts and rights. These aren't universal. So we are on the passenger side. This is a right side. You need a right side. Other way to know is this arm for the magnet faces towards the front of the RV, okay? So this arm, if it's over on this side, you have the wrong side, okay? So if you need one of these, make sure you get the proper side. If you're doing both sides of the axle, make sure you get a pair, a left and a right. We're gonna put these on the same way we took them off and torque them down. Maintenance, guys. I can't stress it enough. That's what I wanted to do on this channel. It was originally just going to be a maintenance channel, not a vlog channel, but I cannot stress maintenance enough. If you're going to get into RV life, do yourself a favor, start looking now at maintenance. How to do stuff, how to change your brakes, how your HVAC works. How does 12 volt work? How does 120 volt work? How do hydraulics work? Your truck, how does your engine work? How can you change your oil? Maintenance is gonna help you in this life. A, save money because you can do it yourself, buy the parts. You don't need to pay anybody to do it, and save you time. God forbid, have to break down the side of the road. You know how to fix it. So before I tighten these down, I'm going to connect these wires back here. Again, getting them twisted a little bit here. And like I said before, you do not have to worry about the which wire goes where. They're universal, so on this situation the magnets are universal. A little tug test. Perfect. It's one done. That's it. We're connected. We're good to go. Alright. Let's get this back together. So get your wrench, tighten it much as you can. Help you with torquing it. Now, if you're tightening anything with a pattern like this, do it in a star pattern. Lug nuts, brake assemblies, I didn't mean lug nuts, lug nuts on your tires, these on your brake assembly. Try to do it in a star pattern. So like you see, I went here to down to here. Make sure for even pressure. We're not snapping any of these bolts, because remember, if you snap any of these bolts, you're gonna need A, a new drum, or B, worst case, a new axle. That would be terrible. That's the safest way too, to get everything nice and tight. So work your best in the star pattern. Now that's that one. And that is that. Now, what I said next is now we need to use torque wrench. So, how a torque wrench works. This one is a little cold. Brr. I don't know if you can see this on here, but there's a bunch of numbers, and we have foot-pounds and kilograms. We're gonna use foot pounds. For these, it says do 40 pounds. So we're gonna go scroll up to the 40 line, and there's 0 through 10 on the handle you're spinning. So then you set this, lock that into place. I need a reducer on here. Reducer on. Extension on. Now you'll hear a little bit of a creaking noise when it is at its proper torque. So put that on. Right there. That's what you're hearing. Once you hear that, you are golden. So remember our star pattern. Bottom here. That noise is what you're listening for. All right, be careful of this one between the wires. Now, you're torqued properly. I go through one more time, make sure nothing loosened up. Good. Good. Also, you know, because you're doing that star pattern, you can now go back and around the circle and make sure you didn't miss anything. That's it. In layman's term, that ain't going nowhere. So, now, let's put the drum brake back on. One more time, make sure that spindle is nice and clean, no debris. Make sure this is operating. I didn't show you guys. There's a spindle down here. Now you can set it on the back. Let me get the other one to show you. So, this is what we called self-adjusting drum brakes. This gear right here, you can access from the back. There's holes back here. You can use a screwdriver. They actually have a special tool for it, but you can just use a screwdriver. Now what makes these self-adjusting is this lever right here. As this spreads, that lever will adjust that gear, tighten it, so that when the brake pads wear down, it'll spread this out a little bit so the brake pads don't have as far to reach, not working as hard. What you would normally have to do is you'd have to adjust them yourself. As brake pads were down, you have to come in here, spin this, make sure your brake pads, you want them kind of just barely reaching the edge, because this one doesn't, if you see, is not spreading. It's this one. So that's why you set it that way. Make sure you just wipe down that drum. That seal looks good. Careful, play operation. Try to get this on the best way you can. It's heavy. Well, that one is set out too far. Alright, so me messing around showing you guys it going back and forth, I set the gear, so I had to loosen the gears. Like in the old terms, like a glove. It's time to re-glove up and show you how to pack some bearings. Because according to the way we took this out, that's what goes back in first. I've always used Red and Tacky for everything I've used. It's just really good grease. So this is what I've always used. You can use whatever you want. This is just my recommendation. So now that we got drum back on, get this bearing nice and clean. So our goal is to get grease in through this seam and out the other side. Okay, like I said, there's a tool where you can push the bearing in. And we're gonna take our grease. We're gonna put a glob on our hand. So start with that much. Right there, the center of my hand. Okay, try to wipe off my fingers so I can have one good hand here. Now, I take the fatter side, hold it like this, and I knead it in. Kind of like you're trying to knead dough in. So, I'll try to show you. In the hand and out. And wipe. Good again. And wipe. You're looking for it to come through the other side. Right there, you can see how it pushed through finally. It's going to take a couple turns and take the excess grease and do it again. You're looking for it to come through, and see all that grease that I already have in my hand is already in the bearing. So we need a little more. Push in and out, 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 in and out. Okay, that is how you pack a bearing. Alright, and then I like to do the gears, the rollers on the side. Then it is okay that it is this greasy. You want it to be. Alright, now that is a properly sealed bearing. So we're going to take that bad boy, stick it in that. So, get this nice and tight, push your bearing in. Working back in order, right? So now we're going to take our washer. That goes next. Our nut. Remember, we're just looking for hand tight, but we're going to tighten it all the way, then back it off. Nice and tight. Bearing makes a good seal. Perfect in there. Now, it's important to back that nut back off. So, loosen it off to where it's practically and tight. You want to make sure your drum is seated properly, hasn't moved, not bending in any way. Then, like I said last time, we're going to take this lock washer on the nut, flat side going in here, and work it around. So, once you're happy with everything, give her a spin, make sure she sounds good. I love it. We're gonna put some grease in here. Now, if yours doesn't have this self Zerk grease fitting, pack as much grease as you can into everything. But So we're going to pump, spin, pump, and spin, pump, spin. That's it. Saw the grease come out of the bearing. Last step, let's put this cap on. We're gonna give some love taps all around. Nice and even. Well, that's how you change brake assembly. We changed the brake assembly, we greased our bearings, put everything back together, greased it back up. It's riding smooth now. Let's put the tire on. If you like this content, guys, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. We're trying to bring out content that helps you guys, and that shows so much support. We appreciate it. Let's put this tire on and let's finish this video. All right, guys, so try to use leverage again to your advantage. Kind of come in at an angle, get it lined up. And that is now on. So we're going to get our lug nuts. And you get them hand tight. You know, you don't have to worry about this star pattern right now. Just get them on. Alright guys, so we got these things hand tight. Your tire is straight on. Now is when you work your start pattern. Start at the top. We're gonna go what's called rolling tight. So let's roll. And go bottom one here. Basically, I'm skipping 3. So I went ahead this one, right? Do this one. Okay. are ready to be torqued. Our tire is supposed to be torqued to 120 pounds, so set that. Then release these bottle jacks and remove the stands. You see the tires come down. All right. So same process, guys. Get a little bit of short extension so you don't have too much. Get it on there. And what you're listening for, same thing, star pattern. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you found this content helpful. Now you know how to change your brake assembly, pack some bearings. Catch you in the next video.